The narrow gate. Why Jesus says most people get this wrong. Jesus says something in today's gospel that should make every comfortable Christian pause. The road most people are walking leads to destruction, and the ones who find the right path are few. Not some, not many, few. What does that actually mean, and how do you know which road you're on? Let's look at today's gospel. Matthew chapter 7 verses 6, 12-14. Jesus said to his disciples, "Do not give what is holy to dogs, or throw your pearls before swine, lest they trample them underfoot, and turn and tear you to pieces. Do to others whatever you would have them do to you. This is the law and the prophets. Enter through the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the road broad that leads to destruction, and those who enter through it are many. How narrow the gate and constricted the road that leads to life. And those who find it are few." This passage brings together three teachings that might seem disconnected at first, but they sit together deliberately at the close of the Sermon on the Mount. Pearls before swine, used imagery loaded with meaning for a Jewish audience. Dogs and pigs were not pets in first-century Jewish culture. They were considered unclean, often wild scavenger animals associated with Gentile life and ritual impurity. Pearls, by contrast, were among the most valuable possessions imaginable. Jesus is painting an image of someone giving something precious to creatures that cannot recognize its value, and may turn violent in response. This wasn't a random pairing of words, it was a deliberately jarring image for his listeners. Do to others whatever you would have them do to you. The golden rule was not entirely new, but Jesus' framing of it was distinct. Similar sayings existed in Jewish tradition. The great Rabbi Hillel, a generation before Jesus, had taught something similar in negative form. What is hateful to you, do not do to your neighbor. Jesus states it positively and calls it a summary of the law and the prophets, meaning he's claiming this single sentence captures the heart of the entire Hebrew scriptures, not just good advice for getting along with people. City gates were a familiar, concrete image for Jesus' audience. Ancient cities often had a small, narrow gate for regular foot traffic alongside larger gates for caravans and commerce. The narrow gate and broad road were not abstract metaphors. His listeners had walked through exactly these kinds of gates their whole lives, and would have immediately pictured the difference between the busy, congested main road and a narrow side path requiring deliberate searching to find. The pearls before swine teaching is about discernment, not contempt for people. Jesus is not telling his disciples to look down on certain people as swine. In context, this is wisdom about timing and readiness. Some truths, given to someone not ready to receive them, will be trampled rather than treasured, and the giver may even be harmed in the process. This isn't a license to judge who deserves the gospel. It's a caution about discernment. Not every moment, audience, or approach is right for sharing what is sacred. The golden rule sits at the center of this passage for a structural reason. It's the hinge between discernment and the narrow gate. Jesus has just warned against giving holy things carelessly. Now he gives the positive standard for how to treat others well. Imagine yourself in their position. This single sentence requires constant, active imagination, not a one-time decision, but a habit of mentally stepping into another person's situation before acting toward them. Now here is where the passage often gets misunderstood. People assume, do to others as you'd have them do to you, and enter through the narrow gate are two separate, unrelated thoughts. They are not. Jesus places them side by side because the golden rule is hard. Treating others with the same patience, honesty, and generosity you want for yourself goes directly against natural self-interest. That is precisely why the gate is narrow. The easy road is the one where you serve yourself first and treat others as means to your own comfort. The narrow gate is the golden rule actually lived out, consistently, even when it costs you something. Few find it, is one of the more sobering lines in all of Jesus' teaching, and it deserves honesty rather than softening. This is not Jesus being pessimistic about humanity. It's a clear-eyed statement that the way of self-interest, comfort, and going along with the crowd is the default. It requires no searching, no discipline, no narrowing. The way of love, sacrifice, forgiveness, and genuine goodness toward others requires active searching and ongoing choice. Few find it not because God hides it, but because it demands something most people are not willing to consistently give. Common misunderstanding. Some people read, narrow gate, few find it, and conclude that salvation is reserved for a small, exclusive group of especially righteous people, turning this into spiritual elitism. That reading misses the very next teaching Jesus places right beside it: the Golden Rule, available to absolutely anyone willing to practice it. The few is not a fixed headcount of the spiritually elite. It's a description of how rare it is for people to consistently choose the harder road of genuine love over the easier road of self-interest. The gate is narrow, but it is not hidden, and it is not reserved for an exclusive class. Another misunderstanding. People sometimes treat pearls before swine as justification for refusing to engage with anyone who disagrees, mocks, or pushes back on their faith, using it to avoid hard conversations altogether. But Jesus himself ate with sinners, engaged hostile critics, and reasoned with skeptics throughout the Gospels. This teaching is about wisdom in specific moments, not a blanket excuse to disengage from anyone difficult, in relationships and conflict. The Golden Rule is easy to recite and genuinely difficult to apply in the heat of an argument. Before responding sharply to a spouse, friend, or coworker, the practical version of this teaching is a pause. If I were on the receiving end of what I'm about to say, would I want to hear it this way? In business and negotiation, treating a client, employee, or competitor the way you'd want to be treated doesn't mean being a pushover. It means refusing to exploit information asymmetry or pressure simply because you can. The narrow gate version of business ethics often costs short-term advantage for long-term integrity. In sharing your faith, the pearls before swine teaching offers real wisdom for evangelization. Discernment about timing, posture, and readiness matters. Forcing a deep theological conversation on someone clearly not in a receptive moment can do more harm than good. Wisdom means reading the room, not abandoning the mission. In parenting, teaching a child the Golden Rule is far easier in words than in daily practice, especially when a parent is tired, stressed, or provoked. Modeling the narrow gate to a child often means choosing patience in the exact moment when the broad road of irritation would be easier. A practical challenge this week: choose one relationship where you've been on the broad road, taking the easier path of self-interest, irritation, or convenience. This week, deliberately practice the Golden Rule there. Act toward that person the way you genuinely want to be treated, even when it costs you something. Notice how much more effort the narrow gate actually requires compared to the default. Jesus isn't describing an exclusive club reserved for the spiritually elite. He's describing a choice available to anyone, every day, the harder, narrower choice to treat others the way you'd want to be treated, instead of taking the easy road of self-interest. Few find that gate not because it's hidden, but because it's demanding. Today, look for it. It's closer than you think.